Howdy folks, Ozranger here. So I just did a quick search on YouTube and I noticed that no one has actually done a review of the CH4D dyes themselves. Now, for all intents and purposes, this dye, oh my gosh, excuse me, obviously had some baked beans for breakfast. For all intents and purposes, the CH4D dyes are no different to Redding or Hornady or Lee dyes even. They're all machined on probably very expensive CNC machines or CNC mill turns. They both appear to be made out of a very similar material. The inside finishes, I guess you can't really see them very well, but they both appear to be well polished. They both appear to have the same, at least, surface finish, and all precision ground. But CH4D have done something a little bit different on their decapping pin and their expander ball. Now what they've done here is they've actually threaded this tip on. I'll see if I can get this to focus, but I doubt I will just because of the lighting in here. Let's have a look. No, but there's a thread there. And at first I was a bit, skeptical of the thread. I was thinking, don't know if I like that, but the design intent, and this is another good example of design intent, is that you can just remove that piece if you damage it or break it and replace it. Now I live in Australia, so that's a bit more challenging because it's expensive to send that out to me, but I can easily make one of those on my lathe and then just heat treat it and grind it if I need to. That decapping ball is actually 0.241 of an inch, so it's 6mm. The other neat thing about the CH4D dyes, especially for people who have lathes, etc., is that it's threaded on here, so if you bend this pin, all you need to do is replace that whole pin. Problem solved. I think that's actually a really good idea, because if you break these or bend these, then you have to essentially unscrew that, tighten it on, it can move in and out and let go. So this particular type of decapping die, we've all had problems with these, and then when you get something stuck, getting it out's a nightmare. At least with the CH4D die, you can just unscrew the bastard and pull the bastard out. It's really not all that hard, which is actually really good, because it, generally speaking, if it got really stuck, then this would actually sit inside the case, and you could cut the case open with a Dremel, and you wouldn't have to potentially bend your pin. Now I think that's a neat little trick. So for design intent, CH4D gets the thumbs up of Ozranger approval. Okay guys, so I couldn't help myself and I had to break this thing apart just to find out what thread gauge it is and what measurement I'm going to get on this thing. Now, most people in the modern world work in millimeters. They don't work in squadrants and flabjongs and this thing called imperial, because the imperial, unless you're talking about Star Wars, but I thought the imperial was pretty much over with. Now that's metric at 4.74 millimeters, so I'm going to say it's going to be an imperial size coming from the US, or 0.1875 or 32 kablomps. Ooh, I almost forgot in all of this nonsense and me being silly that the one thing that I don't like about CH4D dyes, and it's only a minor thing, but it's something you need to be aware of, is it doesn't have a vent or an oil vent hole or a port. Now the Lee and I believe the Redding and the Hornady all have a small hole drilled in. Now this one's behind this nut, but it doesn't make any difference because it's not, an airtight seal around that nut. But this one doesn't have it, and it does dint your cases if you use too much oil. So I generally just use some graphite powder to neck size mostly. It is a full length resizing die, but when my cases start to get sticky, all I've done so far is I put a pad down with a tiny bit of Lanox on it. Now Lanox is really good for full size case resizing. In the other dies you can just chuck them in a bag and shake it up and go spastic, but you got to take a little bit more finesse. I just get a plastic container with only about this high, it's flat. I drop 10 or 20 cases on it and I just roll them gently, and there's only a tiny smear of oil, and that stops them from denting cases, but you just need to be a bit careful. Because, you know, and even if you only run every second or third case with some oil on it, that'll be fine. And as long as you use a bit of graphite powder in between, but that is definitely something to be aware of. They can dent cases pretty easy. Righto folks, well that's it for the CH4D die. They're really good quality, they do exactly what they say they do on the label. So if you need a wildcat and you need some dies for it, then don't hesitate to contact CH4D. They're great to deal with, and they usually have every weird and wonderful caliber you can possibly think of on the shelf. And even if you were just using them to reload you know, competition cases or whatever, I'd quite happily use them to reload. They got taper crimps and all that sort of crazy cool stuff. So check out CH4D. I think they're really good. See you next time.